for me, like, when I realized, like, you're never gonna arrive in an area of life, like, I think that's a very humbling thing to realize when we're like, okay, like, I know that when I got into college, I was like, I knew that I was like, okay, if I get accepted into the University of Georgia, then like, I've arrived in life, and like, you know, but then it's like I got accepted and then I was just on to the next thing. Oh, let me find a roommate. Oh, you know, will I like my major? Will I like my career? It's like, there's always something that's next, that's coming. And so I'm never gonna fulfill like that sense of security and just like comfort that comes in like arriving in life, because that's not realistic. And I think when we realize that like our God is a gentle God, he's not only like all powerful, all knowing, but like he is like humble and gentle. And I think that that's comforting to realize like, okay, God is like gentle and gives me grace and turns my mistakes into a part of my story that can help me grow and help other people grow. And when I realized like the grace of God is like all sufficient, and it's just that I can like rest in that security and not rest in reaching the next success block, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like there's like two things that I want to pull out of like both of y'all that I totally agree with. Like, I think the idea of arriving is such a myth. Like, it's just such a myth.
Yeah.
I mean, I think back on my life when I was like, even like a kid, and it's like, oh, when I get to high school, like then I'll be cool. Like then I'll have these things that I see all these people have. Oh, when I get into college, like I'll have made it. Oh, when I graduate college and get a job, I'll have made it. But then it's never enough. Like, that's just the tendency of our human nature is to just always want more. And so I think like the idea of arriving is it like you never can. Like you're never gonna get to a point on your own where you're like, okay, awesome, I did enough work on myself. I'm so healed, like I feel good, like I've arrived. Like there's always more that we can be growing, and there's always more that like we're gonna like see about ourselves and like want to heal from and want to experience growth in. And I feel like that sounds maybe on the surface really hopeless, but I think it actually is what gives us so much freedom to not have our identity rooted in what we do, and to have our identity rooted in who we are rather than like what we can produce and what we can achieve. And I think that gives me a lot of freedom, like in being like, okay, I'm never gonna arrive there. And like, that's actually okay, because no one's ever arriving there. And so we don't have to like just, you know, be on like that image of the hamster wheel, like constantly churning and churning and churning, like trying to get somewhere, and you're still just in the same place.
For sure.
And like growth, like you are gonna make progress, like you are gonna see things happen, but it's okay that it might not look how you expected, and that it might not be like the end all be all. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, and like being results driven, performance driven, like almost an external layer of what it looks like we are, where it's like if you are blank, you will look like blank and people will see blank. And it's like, okay, that's very surface level. That's very much looking at like the results and how people are wiring and what they're like producing. And that puts a lot of pressure on someone. And their identity can become in what they offer and what they do rather than who they are. And so in like viewing growth as a journey, and I think healing as a part of that as a journey, there is so much freedom when you realize it is so much more about coming to know God and know yourself and build a relationship between each other and with yourself than it is about like making the marks or meeting the marks. I think it's in our human nature to want to like feel secure, or like feel like you've accomplished enough. Or for me, it's like, I just want to feel wanted and not out of an obligation. I just want to be wanted for who I am. And I didn't find that until I found God. And I think part of this wanting more is really just wanting God, but not really knowing it. I think we want a God that we can like see and feel and touch. And Jesus was that, and Jesus is that. But I think through the lens of a lot of our culture, it's misconstrued like who God actually is into like almost what God actually is. People have always kind of missed this mark where even like, oh, like we want God, but it's like we really want like the law, you know, the commandments, so that we can almost like earn and perform our relationship with the Lord, our right standing with him. And it's like, that's missing the mark. We were designed for love not this like set of rigidity and rules and tradition, but like I'm in like a loving, intimate relationship with God. And like I have seen him heal so much and redeem so much of what I thought this world was, that was so painful for me, that at this point in the game, I'm kind of like, yes, I have moments of like, oh, like struggle and striving, these horrible emotions, and then it's like, I get to a point normally where it's like, I love him, and I know that he loves me, and like, it's gonna be okay, you know? So, yeah.